Hello, my name is Michelle Holloway, and I am pastor of the Baker and Haynes United Methodist Churches in Baker City and Haynes, Oregon. This message today is for April 18th. These flowers behind me are from a blossoming tree in Walla Walla, Washington that I took while I was on a little bit of vacation last week. Today is Native American Ministries Sunday, and my message is partly on that and partly on our need to honor creation. April 18th, 2021, and the scripture comes from Genesis 1. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in God's image. In the image of God, they were created, male and female. They were created. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." God said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." So God was feeding us and the animals. And it was so. God saw everything that was made, and indeed, it was very good. This coming Thursday, April 22nd, will be the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. Will we notice? Will we, as a congregation or as individuals, do anything to honor the earth or creation? As humans, we generate a lot of trash. Excuse me. We use items that don't decompose and will be around for hundreds to thousands of years into the future. What are we doing to honor God's good creation? When Earth Day was first started back in 1970, the big concerns were zero population growth and the belief that the Earth was getting colder. People were asked to have no more than 2 children, for that would set the population at a maintenance level. And it was certain that within 30 years, which would have been the year 2000, 21 years ago, the average temperature around the globe would drop so far that it would be the beginning of a new ice age. My, how things have changed. As for zero population growth, we have evidence through multiple television programs about people having well beyond 2 children. I mean, what kind of TV show would you have with just 2 children? What happened to the idea of maintaining, not multiplying, the population? As for the coming ice age, we now have an even greater fear of global warming. In just 50 years, which is much faster than nature usually works, we have gone from the fear of the planet freezing to death to the fear of the planet dying from too much heat. To complicate all of that, we are scientifically in an ice age and have been for, oh, let's say 2.5 million years. And to get technical, this part of the ice age is considered interglacial. That is, between the times when glaciers cover the planet. And I guess we can be grateful for that. But in all this, it's difficult to know what our response should be. We heard from Genesis 1 that God saw everything that God had made, and indeed it was very good. Of all God's creations, we are the ones God expected to take care of things. Other parts of creation are here basically to tend only to themselves. But we, as humankind, were given dominion over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, all things in the water and sky, and all things that grow and yield our daily food. We're given dominion over the other creatures and are told to subdue the earth by our population. Be fruitful and multiply. Well, we've certainly accomplished that, haven't we? Are we so focused on subduing and having dominion that we forget that we are also stewards of this earth? To be a steward means to take care of something that doesn't belong to us, to care for something on behalf of someone else. If we're caring for this world for someone else, then who is that someone else? We are stewards on behalf of God and future generations of humans and other animals living on this green and blue globe. They are the ones we should be thinking of and caring about. When I was in South Carolina a number of years ago, my friend and I drove up to the YMCA camp north of Greenville. There's an open chapel that looks out over the Blue Ridge Mountains. Around the perimeter of this chapel is a wall with plaques dedicated to the memories of loved ones who had been part of the camp. One of the plaques had a message adapted from the writing of Louis L'Amour. It read, "We must never forget that the land and the waters are entrusted to us for a moment only. That following generations must live from that land and drink of that water. It's not enough just to leave something for them. As God's stewards, we must leave it all better than we found it." What are we doing to leave it all better than we found it? Many churches have recycling programs where they recycle inkjet cartridges, aluminum cans, and reading material. One of the churches, actually two of the churches I was serving, recycled medicine bottles by sending them to an organization in Ohio that then sent them on to third world countries that didn't have containers for medicines. What are we doing as a church or as individuals? I must admit that Baker County isn't the best for recycling. I miss being able to throw all my paper into a bin and then take it to a bigger bin for recycling or have it picked up by the recycling people. Here, unless I shred it first, a lot of paper just becomes trash or in some houses burned in the fireplace. Plastic is a terrible substance that does not break down, but it comes in so many different forms. Again, here in Baker County, milk cartons can be recycled and other plastics have deposits which prompt us to return them. But what about, as I mentioned, medicine bottles, plastic food containers? Trash. It's all just trash. And that doesn't feel good to me. We are a wasteful people across the globe, and it can be difficult knowing how to make a difference. I overheard a story a couple of years ago about Germany. The man telling the story had been a teacher there for a number of years, and he was explaining how everything got recycled. All products were sorted, and if the garbage company caught someone not sorting, not recycling properly, or throwing away items that shouldn't be tossed, that person would get fined. Talk about being proactive. How did we get here? How did we lose compassion for the earth and for the people who will follow us? Maybe we who are of Western European descent never had that compassion. Maybe we were always of a mind to take and not give back. Which brings me to my second topic for today, Native American Ministries Sunday. Within the United Methodist Church, there are 6 Sundays during the year in which we are called to focus our ministry, thoughts, and donations outside the local church and into the greater world. This Sunday is the only one that focuses on a specific ethnic group, Native Americans. I grew up in a world of many Native Americans. In California, there are 107 federally recognized tribes. In my home county, there are 3 large tribes and many, many more within the surrounding counties: Yurok, Karuk, Tolowa, Hupa, Klamath, and Wiyot, to name just a few. Being in the midst of Native Americans is part of my heritage. The 2 foster boys my family took in over the years were both from the local tribes. When I was in grade school, I remember learning about the Yuroks and the Karuks, which we mistakenly pronounced K-Rock, who lived to the south. But I was so surprised to learn, long after I graduated from high school, that most of my friends were of the Tolowa tribe, who lived to the north. The Tolowas were not recognized as a tribe by the federal government until 1983, more than 100 years after the massacre in my home county that was thought to have killed them off. And no, I didn't learn about that in school either. God gave the world to humankind for us to tend and cultivate and love. The Native Americans valued the land above all else. They had no concept that anyone could own land. It wasn't a commodity that could be bought or sold. It belonged to the Creator, by whose good pleasure we were allowed to reside on it. So it must have come as quite a shock for these people to be moved from their sacred places by people who would work to destroy the natural harmony of the earth. Native Americans honored the buffalo and the deer, the tree and the water, and would ask forgiveness of an animal or a tree for causing its death. There is such beauty in being so connected to the land that each blade of grass and every bird in the air is given sacred value. Sadly, in the white European understanding of subduing the earth and having dominion, non-white peoples were considered no better than the animals and could be used and killed like any other creeping thing that creeps on the earth. There seems to be no limit to the abuses we humans can perpetrate on creation, including created human beings. Instead of recognizing the indigenous people as having been here longer and learning from their connection with the earth, we destroyed them. The very first church I served in California was part of a cooperative parish of 3 United Methodist churches, one of which was served by a Native American pastor. This church is just a few miles outside the Klamath River Indian Reservation. Michael, the pastor, was a gentle, soft-spoken man who once explained the famous phrase, "It is a good day to die." So often we think of that phrase as meaning the people are ready for battle, And if they must die fighting for their home, then it is a good day to die. However, the way Michael explained it, it was more about being in harmony with the earth. God is in the heavens. We are people who have lived well. We are surrounded by beauty. Indeed, it is a good day to die, for we are at peace within our souls. Although we can't make up for the things that have happened in the past, we can take a stand to assure that it doesn't happen again or continue to happen. As we look at the earth and the many ways it has been corrupted, we must include all the peoples who have suffered at the hands of others. As we consider Earth Day and Native American Ministry Sunday, let us look at our stewardship of all creation. Creeping beasts, growing plants, and God's most beloved creation, people. Stewardship of God's creation doesn't stop at the level of caring for the ground beneath our feet or of the many animals that surround us. Our stewardship extends to our neighbors in humankind. Care for the widows and orphans, the homeless and the lost, the displaced and the disheartened, the people of color who are systematically abused and killed. We are all part of God's great body, and we need to participate in the restoration to health and harmony. Speak for justice, work for equality, and give to those agencies that are doing these good works on our behalf. It is a good day to die, and it is a good day to come alive again with all our sisters and brothers. It's time to give back. Take care of creation, all of creation, for God saw everything that had been made, and indeed it was very good. Amen.